According to the second book of Kings, chapter 24, verse 1, בימיו עלה נבוכדנצר מלך בבל, ויהי לו יהויקים עבד 3 שנים, וישב וימרוד בו. It means that sometime during the rule of King Jehoiakim, Judah became a Babylonian vassal kingdom. But when exactly? We know that Jehoiakim became king in September 609 BCE and ruled for 11 years. We also know that at the end of the 4th year, the Babylonians already won the battle in Carchemish, and a year later, many of the kingdoms in the region were enslaved to the Babylonians. Since Jehoiakim revolted after 3 years of enslavement, and we'll read it later, so theoretically, Judah could become Babylonian vassal kingdom between the 5th and the 8th year of Jehoiakim's rule. A more exact date to Judah's enslavement to the Babylonians can be found in Jeremiah 36, verses 9 to 29. The date of this prophecy is very important to the understanding of the events. ויהי בשנה 5 ליהויקים בן יאשיהו מלך יהודה, בחודש 9, קראו צום לפני אדוני כל העם בירושלים, וכל העם הבאים מהרי יהודה בירושלים. The 9th month of the 5th year of Jehoiakim is Kislev 604. November, December 604 BCE, exactly when Ashkelon was conquered by the Babylonians. We just talked about it in the last unit. The description according to a time of fasting before the Lord was proclaimed for all the people in Jerusalem, and those who had come from the towns of Judah can be connected to the destruction of Ashkelon and the fear in Judah from a similar fate. According to verse 29, Jeremiah ordered Baruch, the scribe, his scribe, to warn the people and to write on a scroll a warning that בו יבוא מלך בבל והשחית את הארץ הזאת והשבית ממנה אדם ובהמה. It means that still November, December 604 BCE, during the time when Ashkelon was destroyed, Judah was not yet enslaved to Nebuchadnezzar. To the people in Jerusalem, there was a reason to be afraid. Indeed, when all the ministers of Jehoiakim heard what Baruch read to them from the scroll, that they were really afraid. I can read from verse 16, maybe, the only thing that can demonstrate this fear. ויהי כשומעם את כל הדברים, פחדו איש אל רעהו ויאמרו אל ברוך, הגד נגיד למלך את כל הדברים האלה. However, when they brought the scroll to the king and read it before him, he burned it, and according to verse 24, the king itself, ולא פחדו, ולא קרעו את בגדיהם, המלך וכל עבדיו, השומעים את כל הדברים האלה. Assuming that, short after these events, Nebuchadnezzar returned to Babylon, and during this time the Babylonian chronicle could already state that all the kings of Chatiland came before him and he received their heavy tribute. The meaning of all this is that also Judah was enslaved during this time. Jehoiakim probably learned from the fate of Ashkelon and understood that he has to become a Babylonian vassal. Can we support this assumption with some other details? Sure we can. Let's read again the second book of Kings, chapter 24, verse 1. בימיו עלה נבוכדנצר מלך בבל, ויהי לו יהויקים עבד 3 שנים, וישב וימרוד בו. Jehoiakim became a Babylonian vassal for 3 years, and then he changed his mind and rebelled against Nebuchadnezzar. What events can we reconstruct exactly 3 years after November-December 604 BCE that can support the rebellion of Jehoiakim against the Babylonians? What happened in November-December 601 BCE? This what we will discover in the next unit of this course. However, before continuing, I would like to add few more things about the characteristics of the Babylonian rule in the Levant in this early phase. It seemed that at this stage of the major characteristics of Babylonian rule in the region had begun to crystallize. Nebuchadnezzar left in place the existing arrangements formulated during the Assyrian and Egyptian rule and conducted a policy of minimal intervention. In contrast with the Assyrian practice, he made no two-way deportation of populations, nor is there any information of actions taken to develop the areas that were annexed. Even in instances where the Babylonians destroy a major city like Ashkelon in 604 BCE, they banished the economic, religious, and ruling elite and apparently left behind the rest of the population while shifting the political and administrative center to adjacent city, in this case, probably Ashdod. It may be that the Babylonians' need for raw materials and goods is what dictated their policy of annual campaigns, which were intended to collect the heavy tribute they exacted from the subject kingdoms and provinces. In any event, it does not seem that at this stage Babylonian rule was rigid, and the small kingdoms that remained maintained internal freedom. The major burden was the obligation to pay the heavy taxes, probably accompanied by other obligations such as provisioning the Babylonian army during its annual military campaigns, ongoing provisioning of the garrisons stationed in the region, and mustering troops for the Babylonian army whenever needed. Now, let's continue to the next unit and discover what happened only 3 years after Babylon took over all the Levant, and also Judah became Babylonian vassal kingdom.